Did you know that your addiction to drugs, alcohol, the internet, naughty videos, or whatever bad habit you have is not the actual problem? Your addiction is actually a fake solution you're trying to create for yourself to something unresolved, your traumas. As Dr. Gabor Mate, a physician and author who is also a renowned expert on addiction, explains, the root of all addictions lies in the pain we buried from our past. It's not about willpower or weakness. It's about understanding the connection between trauma and the habits we turn to for relief. It is possible for you to break free from your addictions. There are numerous stories out there of people who have successfully done so. By the end of this video, you will have an understanding of the truth about addiction, how trauma plays a role, and most importantly, steps that you can take to break free and reclaim your life. Addiction is defined as a neuropsychological disorder. It involves a persistent and intense urge to not only use a substance or a drug, but may also involve engaging in behaviors that produces a natural reward like dopamine, despite harm and other negative consequences. Addiction extends beyond substance abuse to include behaviors like workaholism, overeating, gaming, and excessive social media use. Gambling, for example, especially in the realm of sports betting, is an addiction on the rise, most notably in the United States, with a poll from Fairleigh Dickinson University finding 25% of men under 30 bet on sports online and 10% of young men are problem gamblers. While precise statistics for behavioral addictions like social media use are less defined, in 2023, the average American spends about 4 hours and 30 minutes on their phone daily, with Gen Z spending over 6 hours on their phone every day. When it comes to drug addictions, we can safely say that at the national governmental level, nothing is really being done to mitigate this. The Reagan and Bush administration declared a war on drugs, but their approach is widely criticized as a failure. Instead of addressing the root causes of addiction, policies focused on punitive measures, leading to mass incarceration and disproportionately targeting marginalized communities. These administrations' Just Say No campaign was also a failure, as many of these kids who grew up with underlying traumas and with some of their basic needs not being met, especially in marginalized communities, ended up doing drugs or selling drugs anyway. Meanwhile, the Iran-Contra affair revealed that the Reagan administration indirectly contributed to the drug problem by allowing the smuggling of cocaine into the US to fund Nicaraguan rebels. These policies not only failed to curb drug use, but also deepened the systemic issues driving addiction. Later in this video, we'll shift from these failed systemic approaches to explore actionable solutions for breaking free from addiction. Based on where our collective consciousness state likely is at right now, and all the psychological problems we hear reported, these patterns suggest that addiction often serves as a coping mechanism for underlying issues rather than it being a moral failing. Addiction often doesn't start with the substance or behavior, but with the pain behind it. As Dr. Gabor Mate famously asks, the question is not why the addiction, but why the pain? The pain is what then leads to the addiction. So what caused the pain? Early childhood trauma such as neglect, abuse, or emotional invalidation creates deep wounds that don't just disappear with time. These unresolved experiences can leave individuals vulnerable, seeking relief or escape through addictive behaviors. For example, someone who experienced neglect might use substances or compulsive habits to fill a void or numb their emotions. Trauma isn't just an event, it's how the mind and body respond when emotional needs are unmet. Understanding this connection is key to breaking free from addiction's grip. Addiction traps people in relentless feedback loops. It often begins with seeking relief, whether it's from stress, pain, or trauma. But the relief is temporary. Over time, the addictive behavior causes harm, which leads to more pain and a growing need for relief. Shame and guilt become constant companions, reinforcing the cycle. Society's stigma around addiction only makes it worse, isolating individuals and making it harder to ask for help. Imagine someone battling alcohol addiction. They drink to numb emotional pain, feel ashamed for drinking, and then drink more to silence that shame. This cycle is why addiction isn't a simple habit to break. It's a deeply ingrained response to pain. Societal stigmas around addiction create an environment of judgment and shame that can feel insurmountable. People struggling with addiction are often labeled as weak or morally flawed, discouraging them from seeking help. But the stigma isn't the only barrier. Society also plays a role in keeping people addicted. From marketing that glorifies alcohol to the design of social media platforms engineered for addiction, these triggers constantly reinforce the cycle. Imagine facing not only the weight of your addiction, but also the fear of being ostracized, all while surrounded by messages and systems that pull you deeper into the struggle. Breaking free isn't just about individual change. It's about addressing the societal factors that perpetuate addiction. When we think about addictions, we often think about substances like drugs and alcohol, but addiction takes many forms. Workaholism, for example, is often a way to escape feelings of inadequacy, as constant productivity masks deeper insecurities. Social media is another form of addiction, designed to keep us scrolling with endless dopamine hits from likes and notifications. Then there's food addiction, which can stem from using eating as emotional comfort or a way to regulate stress. These behaviors might seem less severe than substance use, but they still hijack the brain's reward system, creating a dependency. Whether it's substances or behaviors, addiction often fills an emotional void, making it harder to break free without addressing the underlying cause. As Gabor Mate one time said, when he spoke to a heroin addict, they said that when they took hits of heroin, it felt like a hug. So it's like they're filling that emotional void with the substance. Despite all these personal and societal challenges, there is 100% a way out. So let's go over 4 steps that can help you in your journey to recovering from addiction permanently. Starting with step 1, acknowledge the addiction. The first step to break free from addiction is acknowledgement. It's about recognizing that your behavior is more than a bad habit. It's a coping mechanism for deeper pain. By honestly admitting you're struggling, you take the first step toward healing. This process isn't about self-judgment, but it's about understanding. Addiction thrives in denial, but with awareness, you begin to loosen its grips. You leave the realm of being in denial, thinking that, oh no, it's not a problem. But when you admit, yeah, this is a problem, that acknowledgement right there is a first step. For example, imagine someone who spends hours scrolling through social media every night to avoid feelings of loneliness or inadequacy. The moment they recognize this pattern and admit they're using it to escape discomfort is the moment that they start to gain back control. This step may feel uncomfortable, but it's essential because you can't change what you refuse to face. Step 2, understand the root cause. Once you've acknowledged the addiction, it's time to dig deeper. Why are you seeking escape? Gabor Mate teaches that addiction is rooted in pain, often stemming from childhood trauma, neglect, abuse, or unmet emotional needs. The question, again, as I mentioned earlier, he said, isn't why the addiction, but why the pain. Understanding this connection helps you to stop blaming yourself and start exploring the wounds that need healing. Take corn or smeks addiction as an example. Someone might develop this habit as a way to escape feelings of loneliness or rejection that stem from childhood trauma, such as growing up in a household or going to school where emotional needs were ignored or dismissed, leading to feelings of low self-esteem. Over time, they turn to this behavior to soothe feelings of inadequacy or disconnection. But the temporary relief that it provides only masks the deeper pain that drives the addiction. Understanding this connection helps you to stop blaming yourself and start exploring the wounds that need healing. For example, if you felt that you did not receive enough love at home or at school as a kid, give yourself that love. While receiving love from other people is nice, the love that you give yourself is the most foundational. This step isn't easy, but uncovering the root cause is like turning on the light in a dark room. It reveals where true healing begins. And if you take this next step, it can make this journey a lot easier. Step 3 is to build a support system. No one should face addiction alone. The power of community is vital to recovery. Whether through friends, family, or support groups, having people who understand and care can provide the encouragement that you need. Addiction can isolate, but connection can heal. Find those who hold space for you without judgment, reminding you that you're not in this fight alone. For instance, consider a person recovering from alcoholism who joins a local support group. By sharing their struggles and hearing others' experiences, they realize they're not alone. They draw strength from the collective journey. Find those who will hold space for you without judgment, reminding you that you're not in this fight alone. It's through these relationships that you'll find strength when the road feels toughest. For step 4, you need to change your habits. You need to change the way that your mind is programmed, which means that step 4 is all about rewiring your mind. Healing from addiction isn't just about willpower. It's about changing the patterns that keep you trapped. Gabor Mate emphasizes healing childhood trauma through compassionate self-awareness, helping you to reconnect with your authentic self. By allowing yourself to heal from those past traumas, you're already taking a step to rewire your mind. Dr. Joe Dispenza takes this a step further, explaining how you can rewire your unconscious mind by changing your thoughts and breaking habitual emotional cycles. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, and visualization create new neural pathways, shifting your survival mode into a state of growth. Change the way you're thinking by thinking more about things that are more positive, or envisioning yourself being in that recovered state. For example, a workaholic who feels trapped by a constant need to prove their worth might begin meditating daily to calm their nervous system and visualize a life where their self-worth isn't tied to their productivity. This step empowers you to reimagine yourself not as a victim of addiction, but as the creator of a new, healthier reality. I'm adding a bonus step 5, and that's about advocating for societal and systemic change to prevent traumas and addictions in the future. Our system often fuels addiction rather than addressing its root causes. Industries like alcohol, gambling, and social media profit from keeping us hooked, while public messaging rarely focuses on healing the pain that drives these behaviors. Meanwhile, many communities lack access to basic resources like mental health support, affordable housing, and spaces to foster genuine connection. So how can we create change? Share stories, resources, and initiatives that raise awareness about the psychological roots of addiction and advocate for collective healing. For example, highlight local programs that provide trauma-informed care, or promote campaigns that encourage healthier alternatives to addictive behaviors. By coming together to educate, support, and create spaces for recovery, we can challenge the systems that perpetuate addiction and build stronger, healthier communities. While community organizing and activism are powerful tools for change, there's another layer we often overlook: the role of algorithms. The very platforms we use to connect and advocate can also trap us in cycles of addiction and reinforce harmful behavior. Social media algorithms are designed to keep us scrolling, clicking, and consuming, often feeding into the same addictive patterns we're trying to escape. For more information about this and how you can break free from these social media algorithms and use these algorithms to your advantage, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching.